Hi friends, I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to 3 crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well-being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi friends, it's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time from your busy day to check out the show. And I have a little favor to ask of you. If you have anybody in your life that you may think may enjoy the show, if you could share it, that would be greatly appreciated. I just always want to get the word out there. I want to connect with more people, more fans. I also would love to hear from you. So if you could find me on wherever you listen to your podcast, leave me a little review, maybe send me a message. You can DM me. I don't know, whatever you're with. I want to hear from you. What are some things of the show that you are loving? What are some things you may not love? And just really, let's just start this conversation because it's all about you and me together. So I'm going to hop right in to this episode today. It has been one that's in my mind for quite a while now. And I originally was going to call it Why Small Businesses Fail. Something about that word fail that just really didn't sit with me. And what it was is I figured if you are somebody who has a small business, or you're someone who wants to have a small business, or it's something that's been weighing on your mind, I don't think you can necessarily, I think there are so many lessons to be learned. I feel like it's something that, is an ongoing progress, but I don't want to hear the word fail. I feel like fail should be outright. So instead, I decided to name it the top 10 or top set small businesses occur. I might change it up a little bit, something flashier, who knows? But really, it's all about the setbacks. And I really started having this conversation with some of my favorite small business owners, people I've interviewed with, fans of mine, people I chat with all the time. And what I was noticing is there was a lot of similar setbacks. And that was because there's a lot of similar behaviors. So I thought that would be a great topic of conversation. And this could be an episode that, like I said, if you are even thinking about having a business, I don't want to scare you off. I want to tell you not to do it. I love having my own business. I chose it for my family. I chose it for not only the time freedom, but the financial freedom. I chose it because I love getting to decide what I work on. I was notorious for working for other people, usually small businesses, and building their business for them, to the point where I kept going, why am I doing this for somebody else? So that is why I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to start my own business. But there's many other people that come from different backgrounds, different experiences. You may start your business for some completely other reason, and that is okay too. So this episode is not to scare you off, but instead, I would love it to be an episode that maybe there's some setbacks that you're like, ooh, I have experienced that before. Or maybe there's something that I can share with you today that could help you possibly avoid this setback for yourself. So just wanted to share a little bit because I never want to discourage people from being an entrepreneur. I think it's the absolutely most incredible thing. I wouldn't have it under any other way, but it's also not for everybody. And I get that too. That took me a long time to realize that I chose this path. I love it, but it might not be for everyone. All right, so let's start hopping into it. Some of the top setbacks that happen for small businesses. So the first one I think that I've noticed, and I've chatted with a bunch of people, is that you do not know your market research. So this is kind of a few different things rolled into one. When you're starting a new small business, it's really important to see, first of all, if there is something like your business out there. If there is, that's okay. Don't freak out. Don't run away. Don't stop. Don't say, oh my God. Trust me, I've been there before. There was many times. There was one time where I was so excited because I had been working for somebody else, once again, a small business, building their company. And then I thought, I am going to do something similar, but with my own twist, what I do. So my musical theater, I had this whole plan written out. I was so pumped. I had all these names. I was so excited to do. And then the person who I had been working for was like, oh, actually, I'm going to offer this new musical theater portion. And I was devastated because here I had spent all this time, prepped everything. I thought, oh my gosh, how can I do it if she's doing the same thing? It's going to be, terrible. I can't do this. And then I realized, okay, hold on, take a step back. Nothing anybody really does is 100% original. So as long as you're keeping to who you are, what you're all about, your unique twist to things, that's amazing. Also, as long as you're not copying other people, you want to be you want to be different. So if it's something is similar, that's okay, but start doing your market research and not just like Google here and there, what's out there, what's available. Get really, really clear on what is similar, what is different from these businesses, how long they've been around. Really start trying to do your detective work and see what they're all about. I would also start thinking about not only market research of the business, of the idea or the product, but start thinking of your market research of your ideal customer. We talk so much about the ideal customer, and if you're not super clear on who they are and if they will be interested in your new business or product or service or whatever you're doing, then that is for sure gonna cause you a huge setback. There's been many times I've been in conversations with people, business owners that are talking about their ideal customer, and they're like, okay, my customer, is a woman and she's this age and she's into this and she really cares about this. And I was like, perfect. Can she afford your product? And they're like, well, probably not because she's on mat leave and this and that. So that's a big stop. Right there, that is a red flag. That is not your ideal customer. If they cannot afford the product or service or whatever you are offering, then they're not your customer. So get very clear when you do that market research on that ideal audience and that other businesses that are out there, what they're offering, how they offer it, how long they've been around. Just start digging, start asking questions, and really start doing your market research. So the next setback that I've seen happen to a number of small businesses is poor financial planning. So once you've done your market research, you've decided this is a business that, yes, I know my ideal audience. Yes, they are interested in. Yes, it's different enough from anything else that is going on, but similar enough that there is a need, there is a want, there is a demand. Like, this is the product you want to offer. You need to get very clear on your numbers. And I find one of the things that sometimes happens when you have a small business is that things just start happening, right? You maybe buy that website, buy the domain, start the hosting. Okay, now you're spending money on your phone. Okay, then you also need this. Oh, but you forgot you needed that. And now you need, and you just start spending the money because you want to make that investment. You're excited, you're ready, you're pumped. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. But you need to know what those actual expenses are. And before you just start buying all of the things, I really like to slow down and well, you know me, I'm a little thrifty. I like to weigh my options. So if there is any kind of product that I want to try with my business, I'm going to try that free trial, right? So whether it's a 7-day, a 30-day, whatever it is, I'm going to try it out before I buy it. So if there's any kind of products like that, I would try it, but I would also get really clear on what those expenses are right now. So the basics to run your business, like literally if it's you in your home office and you're just starting out, maybe you're on your kitchen table, because I do that too. So the very, very basics of what you actually need, not all the bells and whistles, because you're not there yet. But I would also make another sort of budget expense plan of like, okay, what are those next steps? Where do I want to be then? And once again, it might look a little bit different. Maybe I want to add some software. Maybe I want to put in some more money into advertising. Maybe I want to hire a virtual assistant. Maybe I want to, I don't know, do a lot of different things. So I would look at that like, what's that, potential next expenses gonna look like? And then I would get my big dream wish. Like if this business got to where I wanted it to be, what is that going to look like? What are those expenses and that budget going to look like? Because I think not only is it very smart to know your numbers now, but know potentially where they could be. Because if you want this business to grow in a certain way, but you realize, wait a second, I'm only charging this, the numbers don't add up, you are going to find that setback in a little bit, and that's going to throw you off. So if there's any way you can get, very clear on those numbers as early as possible, that is going to help you in the long run. There's lots of different apps and sites out there that can help you, that can give you some budget. Maybe it'll give you a budget template so you can see, okay, there's some things I do absolutely need right now, but there's some that can be moved down the road. But it's also a good idea to check out what those are going to cost as well, because eventually you might want all the things in that budget, so you need to know how you are going to pay for it. But I know money is not always the most fun thing to talk about, but when you're starting a business, it's absolutely necessary. The next fallback I've seen happen to a number of small businesses, and it kind of goes with the second one, with not knowing your financial plan, not knowing how to use your money. But I find sometimes what happens with a small business is that the owner may not treat it like a business all of the time. And this is where I think some people need to get very, very clear on what they are doing. Sometimes what I've noticed is there's been people who've started a business sort of by accident. Those are actually probably my favorite things, because it comes usually from a need or a demand or an idea, and it kind of grows from there. But sometimes there's people who sort of start a business and it might not necessarily actually be a business. It might be more of a hobby. It might be more of a passion. And I think there's something absolutely beautiful in having hobbies and passions. I feel like sometimes in our society, we don't have that as much anymore because we're so busy with all of the things. So if you find yourself in a small business that it was something that you loved to do that sort of became a business, but not necessarily is a business, you might have a hobby or passion. And I truly believe you can go either way with that. You can decide, you know what? This is going to stay a hobby or passion, and that's why I love it, and that's how I'm going to use it in my life, and that's what's going to bring me joy. Or if you are going to decide that that hobby and passion is actually a business, then my friend, you need to start treating it as a business. And that's where we go back to that financial planning. That's where we go back to doing that customer research, seeing what is out there, seeing how you can make your business that unique, something different that's going to grab people's attention. This is where when people ask you, hey, what do? You don't go, well, I do this and sort of do this and kind of do that. I did that. I've done that for many, many years. It was because I wasn't 100% comfortable and confident in what I was doing, but it was also that version of me that was playing small. That version of me that was like, not really treating my business like a business 100% of the time. So instead, when someone asks you, what do you do? Actually, I own a business. It's called this and it does this. That's it. You don't have to sell to somebody. You don't have to feel like, oh, I'm bombarding them. That is it. They asked you a question, you answered because that is your business and you're proud of it and you're going to treat it like a business, and you don't have to feel like you have to answer anything else. So just think of your business. If it is a business, treat it like a business. Another thing I think of when on that same path is sometimes when you're just starting with those businesses, you've heard me because I've done this multiple times, is answering people right off that bat. So making sure, and I think this falls into that category, like I said, of not treating it like a business. If someone is emailing you, asking you a question, if they are interested in what you are doing, you need to answer. You can't just avoid it. You can't decide to answer when you want to. We are in the day and age of people ask a question, they want a response. If you don't respond, they're going somewhere else. So you might have an absolutely beautiful website. You might have beautiful Instagram photos. People are interested in what you're selling. But if they ask you a question and it's crickets, they're moving on. They're going somewhere else. Nobody has that attention span anymore to like sit and wait. So when you're decided this is your business, you treat that like a business all of the time, no matter what. It's got to be something you have in the front of your mind. The next thing that could be a bit of a fallback in a small business is understanding your customer behavior today. So we talked about doing that market research. We talked about your ideal customer or ideal audience, but you also have to understand what their behavior is today, because it's going to be different than it was 6 months ago. It's going to be different than it was a year ago. It is going to be different. So you really need to not only be so clear on who that ideal audience is, what their pain points are, what their needs, their wants, their desires. You also need to know what their behavior is and how it is changing, because you need to be able to adapt to that. I had a big lesson, and it was just actually from this year. I had created my digital course for families, for kids at home, learning musical theater, and I was so pumped. I was so excited to start sharing, and I challenged myself to contact, I think it was 100. I said, I'm going to contact 100 people I know with kids. This will be perfect for them. Share what I'm doing, share why I love it, share how beneficial it's going to be. And I did that, but what I didn't realize is that I was connecting with those families at a really busy time in their lives. It was sort of around the spring. So I think what was happening is that winter activities were just finishing. Spring, summer activities were just starting. So here are all these families that were just so busy. They're too busy to even answer some of my calls or my emails or my messages. Like, they were busy. And that was the biggest note I got back for so many people. They're like, oh my God, I love this product, it's service. I love this digital course. It sounds amazing, but my kids are way too busy right now. And I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought that, yeah, this is a really busy time for them, that they probably don't want to add another thing to their plate. And in Canada, we want to enjoy the beautiful weather, so they probably don't want to be home learning a digital course. Where if I wait until, maybe the fall or a little bit into the winter, things are getting colder, not only is their behavior going to change, right? We're all inside. We want to do something different. Or I also was throwing out there in the summer, maybe your kid is home and kind of bored. All the activities have sort of slowed down. Here's this course. So really understanding what your customer's behavior is, how it changes, and then how you can adapt whatever you're doing to, once again, serve them, right? If you've always come from an angle of like, I want to help my ideal audience, my ideal customer, then you can't go wrong. It doesn't matter how many setbacks you have, you can't go wrong if you are able to just show up and help somebody. If you're listening to your ideal customer, that is also probably the biggest asset you can ever receive. So that might be having quick phone calls, a quick survey, really always just thanking them for being there, being a part of your world, but also creating that space that they feel like they're open and they can communicate and they can say, hey, I really like this, but I didn't love this. Is there any way this could happen? Like, that is a great way to learn even more about that ideal audience. Another thing I've noticed that happens to a lot of small business owners is that they just try to take on everything. And I know at the beginning, you do have to wear a lot of hats. I know at the beginning, you probably don't have the funds to invest in help or other people, but it's also one of those things that will probably set you back. If you are trying to do absolutely everything and things start to grow, you may not be able to keep up with the demand. I did an episode last week all about how to pass on the responsibility. I talked about not only my household responsibilities with my family and my kids, my husband, but I also spoke about, as a business owner, how to start planning ahead of like, what are the things that I could pass on to somebody else? What are the things that I love doing? What are the things that I don't love doing? And how I could start really spreading it out, because things are just growing and I want them to grow and I'm excited for them to grow. I'm ready for them to grow, but I also need to put those systems and strategies in place so that I don't feel like I have to do it all, because that is one of the hardest things about being a business owner. Is not only are you so incredibly busy and running around, sometimes like a chicken with your head cut off, but you also have a hard time to just stop and say, I need a break, or stop and feel the burnout. Burnout happens to so many small business owners because they don't want to fail. Nobody wants to fail. There you go. I said the F word. We want to learn from what is happening. I want to make the changes. I want to see the results. Nobody wants to fail. No one starts a business thinking like, oh, if it doesn't work, whatever, right? Most people are passionate about it. They're taking a risk, whether it is financial or not. It is something that they are putting their time and effort and love into. So you have to realize there's going to come a point that you cannot do it all, and you are going to need to help. Look for advice. If you are in the middle of running your own business, like, amazing, find the people, find the mentors that you can follow, find the businesses that you love that maybe you can learn how they got there, how they do what they do, what are pieces of their business that you would love to replicate and maybe make it your own. Remember, we never want to copy, but if there's somebody's business that you love, like what they're all about, how they show up on social media, or how they give back to the community, whatever that is, those are the things that we do want to replicate. Those are the things that we want to be like, okay, I love that idea, but how can I make it my own? So knowing that you can't do this by yourself, you just absolutely can't. I also feel like being a small business owner, you need to know it's going to be pretty emotionally draining. So not only do you need to start thinking ahead of like, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this all myself. I'm going to need to get help eventually. Maybe going back to that budget of like, okay, when can I start adding the help in, or when can I start using these tools that may cost a little bit more, but in the end is going to give me time. I also think you really need to consider, as that small business owner, how you personally are going to get the support you need. So whether that is some close friend, your family, maybe there's other local business owners you can connect with. I love chatting with other business owners, whether they do the same thing I do or not. I find there's always something that we can really relate to together. There might be an issue that we're like, oh my God, I'm working on this. And they're like, oh my God, I'm working on that too. Oh, I dealt with that before. So to have those means of communication, to have that kind of support is going to help you so much in the long run. Hopefully it will help you from avoiding that burnout, or hopefully it will help you from, skipping some of the steps that these people had to deal with. So find your support, know that you're going to need that emotional support at home as well, and then really try and find some good systems that you can sort of turn things off when you need to. Nothing is worse than waking up at like 4 in the morning and think, oh my God, I got to do this, this, and this, and this, because business owners are always thinking about their business. You need to be able to find a time that you can turn off and say, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. So that might be a ritual of like closing your computer at the end of the day, putting it in a drawer, putting a message on your email of like, hey, I'll check your email first thing in the morning, or putting something on even on your socials and say like, this is what I'm doing. I'm spending quality family time this afternoon. I'll catch with you later. I don't know. It could be all those different things, but know that you can't do it all alone. So you need to start planning ahead to see not only what supports you can have for you personally, but what supports you can have professionally. The next setback that I have seen in small businesses is just that unsustainable growth. I will say I have definitely been caught in this situation before. When I first started my company with teaching musical theater, I did it because I loved musical theater. I still love it. Of course I do. It's part of who I am. It is my business. And I was teaching it. I was directing shows. I was doing different things, but I couldn't see how I could grow it. I wasn't very interested in hiring tons of people and trying to train them to teach like me, because I felt like it was still not me. So I was not convinced that the product or the service that the company would be providing would be the same. And at the time, I was very content with just keeping it a small size business, which I think is also okay. You can go into planning your business and you can keep it small. If that is something that makes you happy and that is how you want it to be, that is fine. And that was fine for me for quite a while, until things started changing. I wanted more. I wanted to grow it, but I was really stuck on how I could possibly do it. Not only did I want to grow it, I think what was getting me stuck is I didn't want to grow it in the normal fashion of like, okay, I'll hire more teachers. Okay, I'll offer more classes. Okay, I'll offer, I had tons of options, that things I've done in the past, whether it's birthday parties or after school programs or going to schools. There's so many things that I have been there and I have done that, but that wasn't the vision that I saw with my company. So for the longest time, it stayed small, and that was great, but there was really no way to keep it growing. There was no way for me to not give more of my time for money until I decided to create my digital course. It was something that I could put together once and share with tons. And not only did I decide this was the route I wanted to go, but I realized it actually helped me define this audience that I was kind of ignoring before. The audience of kids and families who would benefit greatly from musical theater and my digital course, but would never have the confidence to go into a class, right? Those are the kids that actually will probably learn so much from it. They will thrive. They will get these skills that they didn't even know they needed. But if I had offered them to come to a class, they probably wouldn't come. So here was this brand new audience that I was like, oh my God, these are the people I can't wait to serve. And it just kind of happened. But if I hadn't been open to chatting with a business coach, if I hadn't really broken down how I can grow this, how I can scale this, it would have stayed small. It would have stayed what it was. And like I said, you can keep it like that if that's what you want. But if you want it to be bigger, if you want it to grow, you might need to start looking at your options. You might need to start being a little open-minded. You might need to have some more conversations and get that mentor. Chat with your ideal audience. See where those needs are and those demands are. And then you can start really kind of dreaming and brainstorming how you can scale it. All right, the last kind of setback that I've seen happen with many small businesses, and I don't want to see it happen to you, is the refusal to pivot. So when something is happening in your business and you think you know best and you're not changing and you're not adapting, you will fail. And I am using that F word. I'm throwing it out there because if you're not able to listen to your audience, if you're not able to notice that customer behavior, if you're not able to make changes when changes need to be made, then that is when things are no longer going to be a setback. They are going to be a failure. I took this great workshop this week and it was all about ads, and it was just amazing to see how there is so much work behind something simple as an ad, right? I was putting an ad out all about my program, and well, not even, it was a beginning sort of visibility ad just to get my name out there, what I do. I was sharing some really fun content with people. And so I was working on all these different ads and looking at the metrics. And it was funny because in the past, I've put out ads and just let it happen. What I realized now is I was literally just like throwing money away. I knew who my ideal audience was. I knew where they were. I knew how to reach them. But once the ad was out, I wasn't looking at the numbers. I wasn't making any changes. I wasn't adapting. I wasn't pivoting. I was just letting it happen. So then at the end of my ad time, when results weren't what I wanted them to be, I was just kind of taking it and going, oh, okay. Whereas in this workshop, they showed us really quickly to like look at those numbers, look at those ads, and then start making changes. See what is being noticed. See what content is being consumed. Seeing where the engagement is, and then taking that stuff that's not working and taking the stuff that is and start changing and adapting. I've shared with you guys so many times, like one of my biggest takeaways from COVID was seeing businesses and how they were able to adapt and pivot and change what they did to not only offer to people when we were all stuck at home, but then now what's happening after, now that life is going back to normal, what is happening to those businesses and how they are changing again. And a lot of them, things that I love, they're not going back to what was before because that no longer works for their audience. They're still changing, they're still learning, they're still talking to their ideal customers and coming from a place of serving and coming from a place of just being like, okay, let me help you. Let's figure this out. Let's do this together. So as a small business, you better be able to change and adapt, think on your feet, but don't get so set in your ways. It always hurts my heart when I see these businesses who, just love what they do so much, but they're not really willing to listen and they're not really willing to change because this might be how they've always done something. But I think there's so many opportunities to take in what is happening, take in how other businesses are changing, how other, things are happening in this world. There's so much happening right now that if you can take in all of that and then adjust your business as much as you can, that is where the real success is going to happen. That is where you're going to notice the biggest changes, and maybe your small business won't remain so small. Maybe it will get bigger and bigger if that's your dream. Well, my friends, I hope this episode hasn't scared you away of being an entrepreneur, but I'm really hoping listening to some of these setbacks that I've seen happen, that I've
Hi, my name is Shauna Brown, and I am the host of Talk with Shauna. I'm a singer, songwriter, recording artist, currently living in Brampton, Ontario, originally from Wolfville, Nova Scotia. The theme song to my show is actually my original song called Turn Up the Microphone. You can find it on YouTube. If you could all subscribe to my channel, Shauna Brown on YouTube, that would be awesome. Thanks everybody for watching, and here's the show. Hello, everyone. You are now watching Talk with Shauna right here on the FiredUp Network Female Empowerment Movement. Now, I am so stoked to have an amazing friend that I've known for many years now. She's a singer, songwriter, poet, composer. Her name is Erica Coolness, and she's on the show with us today. Everyone, give it up for Erica Coolness. Thanks for being here, love.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Shauna. It is such an honor to be here with you and connect with you again and hear your amazing music. It's just so great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Now, anyone watching, I have known this lady for a lot of years, and we have a lot of history in the music industry together, as well as other experiences being friends. And I just can't wait to share all of our stories with you. Maybe we'll share a few with you today. But my first question is, first of all, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory? So where are you from originally, and where are you currently right now?
Okay, I am from Shipuktuk, also known as Halifax, Mi'kma'ki, and I have lived in 23 countries, and I'm at the moment back in Shipuktuk, and I'm heading to Berlin in a couple weeks, and I'm kind of living internationally. My goal is to live between Nashville, Berlin, Nova Scotia, and Mexico or Cuba.
Amazing. That's a lot of countries. I'm jealous. I wish you could pack me. I think next time you should take me with you, Erica.
I will.
Okay, that's so cool. And so when did you first get involved in the music industry? Was there something specific in your life that inspired your involvement?
I have been involved with music since I was a little girl because my mother and grandmother played music and sang, and they got me very involved with church choirs and other singing groups. And so I grew up surrounded by music, and I wanted to become a singer-songwriter. I think upon discovering groups like the Indigo Girls and Ani DeFranco, Sarah McLachlan, these people all inspired me to to play the piano and guitar and write my own songs. And I started doing that at age 14. Hilariously, the song that I wrote at age 14 is my #1 song on Spotify.
That's amazing.
And it's actually about being jealous of our of a guy who was in love with our mutual friend. I was in love with. And anyway, but I have been involved in all different kinds of musical projects throughout my life, and started performing my own music, I guess, in around my early 20s. And it's been a journey from there, and I've continued to write and grow as an artist, and I'm always trying to grow and experiment and learn. And I think that's the most amazing part of the artistic process, is there's always room for innovation and growth and inspiration, and you never know what's going to come next in your artistic career.
So true. Well, we are lucky to have you, Erica. I've always thought you were an amazing talent, and I want to share that with everyone watching. I want them to know how great you are.
Thank you.
So you said you grow up in a very musical family then, right? Like your family influenced you a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I already know the answer to this, but do you write your own music? Well, just the people that are watching, I know you do, but if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I write songs. I've also written other music that I studied composition in university, so I wrote some classical music as well. But I decided to focus on being a singer-songwriter for social change, because that's always where my heart has been. And I find that one of the most direct ways of communicating with people and inspiring people and catalyzing people to create change in their own lives and in our society is by singing a simple song with the piano and the guitar, and speaking to people's hearts. And I try to write music that is honest and accessible and can sort of transcend things like culture, age, ethnicity, country, that kind of thing. I don't necessarily always succeed, but it's my goal to write songs that have some element of universality, so people can relate to them. And as I've gotten older, as I said, when I was 14 and and up until up through my 20s, basically, I wrote a lot of really self-reflective work that was a lot about my own healing and transformation and journey in my life. And now, and I think that's really valuable, and I love music like that. I think, people hearing their own experiences reflected through your music is really affirming and healing and, comforting to people. But now I try to write songs that maybe come from a personal place of, I don't know, rejection or inspiration or confusion. But instead of making them about me, I try to make them about other people or the world in general, so that more people can relate to them. So the music has more impact, both personally to people and on a broader scale culturally.
Definitely. And that's important. I mean, it really is a universal language, right? And you want to touch as many people as you can with what you're doing, right? Now, you had mentioned that you attended school for music. Can you tell the viewers where you attended?
Yeah, I went to Oberlin College and Conservatory, which is a little awesome, really progressive liberal arts college and conservatory in the middle of Ohio. And I went there because our mutual friend, Giles Herman, went there. And when I was in high school, he was like, yeah, I'm going to this awesome school where you study opera, and it's like queer activism and environmental activism all the time, along with like choirs. And I was like, wow, that sounds like my kind of school. And it was.
That's awesome. Oh my God. Were you there at the same time as Giles? Like,
No, I was there after him, unfortunately.
Okay. That's so cool. I saw a little bit about that, and it's cool to hear the story from you personally that you went. So did you enjoy yourself there? Did you have a good time? Was it a good experience?
It was so good. I can't even describe it. But let's just put it this way. I lived with awesome people, and we were all in a band, and we all had like naked parties where we like had like, you know, extravagant food and danced and made out in the rainstorm.
I love that. That is so awesome. I always think of us back home. I was like, we were the new age hippies. Like that's what we were, you know, and we still are. I still remember a story. We went up to, I think, a cabin. I don't know if it was your cabin. It was someone in your family, maybe your aunts or yours or something. We went up and went skinny dipping in the middle of April, and it was freezing. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Was that the time when we danced? We were having like a dance party, and the rafter broke because we were dancing so hard, or was that a different?
No, it wasn't that one. No, I think it was like there was our friend Daisy was there, and her boyfriend, and me, and Pam, and Sarah, and Camila, and we all went out into the water in the middle of April, like totally naked, and none of us got sick. I don't know how we didn't, but it was awesome.
We're Nova Scotians, that's why.
I know, that's right. Exactly. Can't take that out of us, right? So that was
one thing you have in common with. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good memory for me. I still remember that to this day. It's just like a good memory. What were you gonna say, girl?
Oh, I was just gonna say one thing that every Nova Scotian has in common is like being able to brave the cold waters, whereas other people just can't.
Yeah, we just swam all across the lake, like the entire lake, and people are like, what are you talking about? I miss that. I love that you have the wildlife in the back too, Erica. That's awesome. I love it. I miss Nova Scotia so much. I have to come back and visit. I really do. And I'll be coming to see you for sure. There's no question.
We have to go skinny dipping.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I can't really get away with it here. Well, I try, but we'll talk about that later. I want us to talk a little bit more about your music. So tell the viewers, I mean, you did sort of touch on what it is you're saying with your music. What style would you put? I know it's hard as an artist to sort of put it into a category, but would you say it's a particular style in general, or?
Well, I only describe myself these days as a singer-songwriter because I have worked in kind of experimental alternative rock. I have worked in folk, very traditional folk, and then I've worked in contemporary folk and Americana and roots music. That's sort of a lot of my stuff, Americana roots kind of music. And then I'm, my upcoming album is a mix of folk, pop, and jazz. Well, I didn't know it was jazz until I recently submitted to a couple of playlists, and they wrote back saying, we love it, but it's jazz. And so that was interesting for me. And I've also started writing songs in Spanish because I spent a lot of time in Cuba over the past 10 years. And I got together with a community called Santa Clara, and they're really, really amazing singer-songwriters. And they invited me to play, and I got really inspired by them and wrote a lot of the album that I'm going to be putting out very shortly called Stand Together there.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so awesome.
Thanks.
I love it. Glad to hear you're doing so many wonderful things. And so I guess I know this is a hard one too, because you and I have jammed quite a lot over the years, and I know you like a lot of different artists, but what would you say, do you have a favorite artist right now? And if so, why?
Well, I would say my all-time favorite artist is Joni Mitchell. Because of her versatility, because she always grew as an artist and she always changed and she experimented with so many different styles. And when I was younger, I didn't necessarily appreciate her more experimental and avant-garde stuff, but now I really do. I appreciate her entire body of work. And I think she's a real inspiration for me of an artist who follows their artistic vision and was able to realize it fully. And I'm hoping with some luck that I'll be able to get the financial support / record deal to be able to make some really amazing pop music that I have in my head, but haven't yet had the funds to fully realize.
Absolutely. When I think of Joni Mitchell, I always associate her with you. I do, because I just feel like you are so connected that way to her in my mind. And I think you're amazing, and I think you should keep going. And maybe one day you and I can do a duet or something. We'll figure it out. Not like we haven't jammed before.
I would love that. I would love to do a duet with you. That would be so fun.
It'd be so great.
I've done that very little, and you have such an amazing voice, and you're such a powerhouse. We could do something really cool. I would absolutely love that. Let me know.
I will. I've got some ideas brewing as we speak, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. So then the next thing I wanted to ask you was, this is a biggie. What advice would you give to someone trying to get into the music industry?
Well, I would say two things. One, follow your heart. Don't believe other people's opinions of you, because I've been really held back a lot in my life by listening to other people's opinions about what I should and shouldn't do. And I think it can be very confusing for people, especially people who really have their own artistic vision. Right. And then the other thing is kind of the opposite of that, which is, educate yourself on the music industry. And if I were to do it again, I would not go to Oberlin and study classical music and composition, because I think that informs everything that I do. And, I hope to be able to, write symphonic music again. But I would say that having gone to a school like Berkeley, or a school that's particularly focused on the music business, right, for somebody like me who's autistic, would have been really useful. And I would encourage people who are starting to get into music to do some kind of music business education, because if you're an artist and you think like an artist and you think about trees, girls, and guitars,
yeah,
then I think it's really helpful to have that kind of baseline business understanding of the music industry, because I just had no idea that showcases existed, organizations to help musicians existed, grants existed. I wanted to open for the Indigo Girls, but I had no idea how one would do that. And, many things that were dreams that I hope will soon be realized could have been realized a lot earlier had I had some basic education about the music industry. So I think that's really important. A, be true to yourself, and B, learn what you're getting into, because it's not for everybody. As you know, the music industry is very complex, and it is for me, and I'm willing to make the sacrifices / lifestyle choices that are necessary for a touring musician. But people should really understand sort of what they're getting into, so they can approach it in the most effective and fun way.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I agree with you wholeheartedly there. That's good advice. What would you say is one of the best things about the music industry?
Well, I think one of my favorite things about the music industry, unlike a lot of industries, is that there's always room for another voice. There's always room for growth and innovation. And while it's a double-edged sword, there are standards, and there are moments, and a lot of people want you to conform to particular things. But if you can stick with your artistic vision and fully realize it and create something new that people haven't heard, then it can, change your life, your audience's life, and the world. It's an incredible forum, the music industry. I mean, I went into the music industry because of what a powerful cultural tool it is. I mean, I can think of one person, my old massage therapist, but pretty much everybody else I know loves music. It's a universal thing.
You found one person that doesn't like music? Oh my God.
My old massage therapist, he told me he never listened to music, and he didn't like music, and he had no interest in music. Okay. Isn't that so weird?
That's so weird. I've never heard that ever.
I know, me neither.
Kind of funny in a way too. But anyway.
But it is funny. I thought it was hilarious. I always asked him every time I had a massager, do you still not like music? Thinking that he would have discovered something he liked.
Yeah. I think Erica, I think you're going to turn this massage therapist around. It's a guy. Is it a guy or a girl?
It's a guy.
Either way, I think by the end of the sessions, the last session, you're going to turn him around. He's like, okay, fine. I like music. He'll just break down.
Actually, I saw him. He's not my massage therapist anymore, but I saw him at a gig that I was playing. That's the last time I saw him. And he actually complimented me on the music.
You turned him around, Erica. If anyone could do it, it's you.
You're so sweet.
You're awesome.
But yeah, the music industry, I mean, what I love about the music industry is you can be yourself. Like, that's why I went into popular music, because my family is all classical music. And as you know, I studied classical music and got to a certain level in piano and vocal studies. But I found the pressure to be perfect so intense. And what I love about popular forms, particularly in, any, folk, jazz, blues, pop, there's a lot of room for improvisation and being yourself on stage and kind of going with the flow. And that just fits my personality. And I find it really freeing and not stressful at all. So I really love that.
Yeah, it's like kind of the complete opposite, right? You're like releasing all this like stress, and it's different than trying to make everything like perfect, and like it's like the realness of it is a beauty, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have catharsis without, pinching yourself into a perfect, mold.
It's true.
Which doesn't really exist. And I know there is a movement now, especially in classical music, to popularize it and make it more accessible to people. But that's pretty recent.
Yeah, I would agree. What would you say is one of the worst things about the music industry?
People trying to fit you in a mold. Yeah. And people thinking that their idea is the only way to go. I've experienced a lot of prejudice from, I'm not going to get into who from, but regarding wanting to be a musician who, I would say not all of my music, maybe like a tenth of my music is focused on social justice issues, but receiving a lot of flack for that and not being able to get the support that I wanted. Now, ironically, it's getting popular to be a social justice focused musician, which I'm very happy about.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's kind of like that whole movement is becoming more popular, I guess you could say. There's more of a spotlight on it. I know that you've been doing it for many years, and so I'm glad that it is getting that attention that it needs. Of course, we both know it needs way more attention, but anyways, but yeah.
But I'm glad that sorry, go.
Oh, no, that's okay. You were saying
now in the music industry, at least you are allowed to say your opinions, and if you've experienced misogyny or racism, you can talk about those things publicly without getting blacklisted in the same way that you did years ago.
Yeah, which is good. We are making progress. But just it's not where it needs to be yet. But anyway, so you were talking about your projects that you have coming up. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Can you give us a little bit more information, or is it top secret?
No, I can totally give you more information.
Okay.
So I wrote a lot of the songs in Cuba, and I wrote some of the songs in the USA and some in Berlin, and I think Nova Scotia too. I'm not sure. And it's called Stand Together, and it's about healing both personally and culturally, and working together across cultural differences and national borders to work for peace. And it's about love and empowerment, like all of my music is. And it's a lot of solo voice with piano, and then there's some fully produced numbers that are my Spanish songs that I recorded in Havana at my idol studio, Silvio Rodriguez, who's like my favorite singer-songwriter.
My
So that
goodness.
was very exciting. And I also recorded at Cuba's national recording studio called EGREM. And I recorded some of them in Signature Sounds in Connecticut, where I have recorded previous albums. And so yeah, it's a mix of American and Cuban kind of sounds and culture coming together, and yeah, inviting people to look a bit deeper at themselves and at our world and what's needed for refugees, immigrants, people fleeing domestic violence. I had to leave an abusive relationship in 2017, and there's one song on the album about that. And the song "Stand Together" is for refugees. My grandmother was a refugee from Hungary to Colombia, and my mother was a refugee from Colombia to the US and then Canada. And so it's a very topic that's very close to my heart. And I think in this time of a globalized world, we all need to look beyond ourselves and think about how we can help people. Because, you know, if you're part of a country that's inflicting war on another country, then it's your responsibility to help the people in that country. Just like if you're part of a community and, you know, well, I won't try to get into another example, but you understand my point.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the album is an invitation to listeners to look at themselves and love themselves and find their own power, and also support everybody else finding their own power and thinking outside of the box in order to do that, because I think we're living in a time with so much division and so much judgment and so much self-righteousness on all sides. And I think that we really need to get back to humility and love and following the teachings of our elders and ancestors and whatever religion or ideology we choose to have or choose not to have. It doesn't matter. There's basic ethics and morals. And like today, I was walking in downtown Halifax, and this elderly lady fell down in the middle of the street, and the only people that offered to help her were homeless, unhoused people. And I was just a little bit shocked. And that's the kind of thing, like we just need to stop living so much in our little bubbles of what social media tells us to do, and actually, you know, be more involved with ourselves and with our communities, both locally and nationally and internationally.
Wow, I can't believe that nobody helps that person. That is so terrible. I hate that. They did. Sorry, you said unhoused people did, and that's great to hear. But you know, our society needs to be more like that as a whole. Like, where has our society gone? Like, there's just no humanity. It's
very shocking, isn't it? I saw a TikTok video about a guy on the 401 who was like, some guy was on the 401 for like 45 minutes, like lying on the ground, traffic jam, before somebody called for help.
Wow.
And I was very shocked, and I don't really know what the solution is, because everything that we're being fed is like capitalist, consumer, image. You got to be perfect. You got to do X, Y, and Z, and you got to work till you drop. And to go against that, I recently got some psychotherapy from a cool German woman in Mexico, and it was just like free psychotherapy on the beach.
Oh, nice.
It was really awesome.
That's the best kind. Yeah.
And she confirmed to me, you know, what I've always felt, that it's really important to follow your heart and do what you think is the right thing, even if it's not always socially acceptable. And I really struggle with that, because I'm a very outspoken person, and sometimes people get rubbed the wrong way if I challenge people's boundaries or ideas, but it's always coming from a place of love. And I don't think that if we don't like wake people up, who will? You know what I mean?
True. It's true, Erica. It really is. Like people, everybody needs to be woken up. They do. They need it. I feel like you're doing a lot of that with your music, as well as I like to hope I am with mine too. And I one day picture us going on tour together, girl, across the globe or something.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
Oh,
I want to play in a stadium with you.
Oh my God. Okay. We're working our way there, girl. So it's going to happen one day. I have faith. It will. Can you imagine how fun that would be?
That would be so unbelievably fun.
Great. Then we can go skinny dipping afterwards, right?
Yeah, all around the world.
I know. We're like, hey, we can do this in Nova Scotia. We can do this anywhere.
We're like, we have private security guards now.
Yeah, to deal with that. You don't like it? Oh, well. Yeah, for sure, girl. I love it. I love what you're representing, and keep going. I have so much faith in you, and I'm proud of you, and keep going. Don't take a no for an answer, girl. Don't. Okay?
Thank you. Okay. That's what I need to hear. The feeling is mutual.
Good girl.
And you're an inspiration to me.
Oh.
Someone, realizing your dreams. I mean, that video you showed me, that was amazing. The music, the production, your voice, always your voice.
Thank you.
And I think, we have to hold each other up and support each other. And I was so excited to get your message that you wanted to have me on your show. I feel so happy to connect with you. And I hope if anybody's watching this who wants to be an artist but hasn't fully realized their dream, my message to you is go for it. And I need to hear that from you, the don't take no for an answer, because that's really the most important thing in life, that, people will not understand your project or reject you. And you just have to keep going till you find the people that do. A friend of mine, this cool lesbian from this lesbian inn in New Hampshire I used to play at, she told me that she lost her job, and she was, a big like executive kind of job. And then she couldn't get a job, and she applied to 100 jobs before she got a job. And I had been like trying to get on Ellen and like trying to do a couple of things, but I only tried to do like a couple of things.
Yeah.
And she was like, if you try to do a couple of things, that's not good enough. Like, you have to like try like 100 things before you can say, okay, maybe this isn't working. And so now I'm not counting, but I'm really trying to reach out to the opportunities I want, rather than just be afraid and hope they're going to fall in my lap someday, because, that's not how life works.
True. And you just have to keep pushing. You just have to. And sometimes that's it. Not giving up. That's like one of the key things, right? Because I know we know you've got the talent, and so like, just keep going, girl. Just keep going. I'm a big fan of yours. I always have been, always will be. So I'd like to know, do you have a musical collaboration that you'd like to talk about? Have you done any musical collaborations? Of course, ours hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, that one's going to be the best, of course. But
okay, let's talk about ours. Okay. We're going to be on an island, skinny dipping.
There you go. That's going to be the best one. No, honestly, though, have you done any collaborations that you'd like to talk about, though, in the past with other artists or anything, or?
Yeah, I collaborated with some Cuban musicians, and my latest single, Santa Clara Moon, and my upcoming single, Swimming with Dolphins, were both recorded with this amazing pianist named Alejandro Falcon, who's from Havana and is a really hot jazz pianist. And he recorded a couple of different songs with me. We had a very limited time in the studio. And I brought him this one song, Montreal, that is like 8 minutes long and has like 15 chords in it, and is kind of through composed and very complex musically. Mm-hmm. And he learned it in, 5 minutes, literally 2 run-throughs. We did one run-through where he made a mistake, and another run-through, he played it perfectly. And he just, just from his head, And I was just totally floored. I'd never seen anything like it, and ever since I've wanted to go on tour with him. And he recognized me. He said, "You're a rock star," and I was it was so wonderful to be seen by such an amazing musician. And then he said maybe we can go on tour and play with symphonies and stuff. So that's my dream. And I'm also booking a tour for next year with my friend Jaima Orozco, who's an incredible Cuban singer-songwriter. And we're hoping to play in Europe and hopefully in North America as well.
I love it. Beautiful. What a beautiful name that pianist has. Oh my gosh. Oh geez. Okay. I can just imagine.
I fell in love with him.
Like the name itself is just like, he has to be good looking. There's no question. Okay. So what is the most, this is kind of a hard one too, but I like to ask those hard questions. What is the most exciting show that you've performed to date? I know that's a toughie probably, but, or you can just tell me one. It doesn't have to be your most favorite. I know it's sometimes hard to choose, but.
It's hard to choose one, but the show that I was sort of the most thrilled about was Copenhagen Pride. I played main stage Copenhagen Pride in 2016, and it was just an honor to be on that stage with, like, I don't know, half or all or a lot of Denmark was out in the streets supporting queer pride. And it was a really amazing experience and really fun. And it was my first time on a really big stage, and I got to sing my songs. And yeah, I hope next time it'll be with the band.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. I like it. I love it.
Thank you.
So I want to know, everyone watching wants to know, I'm sure, where can we find you on social media? Can you just tell us a few of your links?
Sure. Well, my website is ericacoolness.com.
Okay.
ErikaCoolnys.com.
Okay.
My Facebook handle is Erica Coolness Music, KULNYS again. And on Instagram, it's Erica Coolness Music. And on Twitter and TikTok and some other sites, it's Erica Coolness. And basically, if you just look up KULNYS with Erica, ERIKA, you'll find a lot of different ways to connect. I'm hoping that I'll get more Spotify followers, because I didn't really invest much into Spotify because, it's Spotify.
I know. And it's like you get like 0.04 cents per stream too, which isn't really great for the working musician. But
no, it's not a platform that's for artists. It's for for the company and for the public. But I'm finding as I apply to things, they want you to reach a certain level of fandom.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's good to get your music out there anyways. I mean, if we're not talking about, streams and making money off streams, but it is a good way to get your music out there. Right. So that's definitely a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Too bad they couldn't change that though and make it at least $1 per stream like it used to be. Like now it's like, oh my God, 0.04. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, hopefully they will.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I mean, a lot of like major artists like Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, and a bunch of other people pulled their music from Spotify.
Yeah. With good reason, because really that's just it's highway robbery. Really. It is. But yeah, so, and if everyone would like to follow any of, I'm sure you want to follow it. Any of Erica's sites are all running across the bottom right now. So just take a look at it. You can see all of the places to find her amazing music and to follow her. And please, everybody, follow her, because she is a rising star. She's always a star in my mind, and she's rising every day. And please follow her, follow her, all of her stuff she's doing. Watch out. This girl's got amazing things coming. I just know it. And I'm really happy, Erica, to have you on the show. I'm happy for us to talk. It's been so long. I haven't been back to Nova Scotia in a while, but when I do go back for a visit, you are definitely one of the first people I'll be seeing, because I love you so much, girl, and keep up the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I love you so much. And you're an absolute inspiration and a gem in this world. And I hope that everybody is as kind and tenacious and talented and loving as you.
Oh, mwah. Love you, girl, so much.
Love you.
Before I go, I'm going to say my last thing I always say at the end of my show. Let the music live through you. Don't forget it. Thank you so much, Erica, for being on the show. Everybody, go out and follow this girl. She's amazing. Okay. We'll talk soon, my friend.
Thank you, Shauna.
So much for being on the show. Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, friends. It's Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, but today I am here showing up and offering you the blaze. And I got two of my lovely ladies here. I have Shauna and I have Veronica. So Shauna, say hi to everybody.
Hello. I've got my Barbie t-shirt on today.
Oh, we are totally going to be talking about that too. I am so pumped. Awesome. Veronica, say hi to everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm really jealous of your t-shirt, Shauna.
I am too. I am loving the amount of people rocking the Barbie gear. I actually saw the other day, it was this gentleman who, I don't even know, I'm terrible at guessing ages, but I would say like early 30s, late 20s. And he was walking with his daughter and he was rocking a Barbie shirt. And I had to be like, excuse me, sir, you must be an awesome dad to be rocking the shirt. And the little girl was like, I bought that for him for his birthday last week and he is wearing, and I was like, oh my God, that makes it even better. So I am also loving the Barbie shirt. Well, ladies, yes, welcome back to the Blaze. We've been out for a few weeks, so it's so lovely to see everyone. How are you doing?
Well, it's lovely to be here. I'm doing really well. I'm excited because, well, I don't know. Did you ladies see the Barbie movie yet? Okay. So
I haven't yet. No.
And I was really impressed with how. Yeah. I don't want to spoil it for anybody though. Veronica, did you see it or?
I haven't. We have plans to see it, but I've heard rave reviews from like everybody. So very excited.
So I've been pretty good. You know, things are good, busy. My daughter's in another camp. We put her in another one. So now it's up to 5 camps. But next week we're off. And so we're going to do some things next week and things have been going well.
Awesome. Veronica, how are you?
Doing well. I mean, I'm loving the sunshine and I'm loving also the rain for like the flowers and everything too. And we actually have our annual conference coming up this weekend. So I'm prepping for that. And actually, I was just mentioning to Courtney and Shauna that our daughter broke her finger. So we're currently dealing with what that means for summer, but we're trying to make the best of it. So overall, good and great to be here in your presence for both of you. So
Awesome. So good to hear. I know I was saying too, like injuries for kids is extra hard in the summer. My youngest broke his wrist a few years ago, just as summer was starting. And it was like, oh my, so like all the summer activities he had planned was like, he couldn't play soccer. He couldn't, go swimming. It was a big pain in the butt. And like Veronica was saying, like, even you think it's just a finger, it's not that big of a deal. It unfortunately becomes a really big deal. So hopefully you guys can figure that all out. I will have to say, what do you guys feel? Because I just already see your Barbie shirt. I'm telling you that.
Okay.
Can you believe how much hype this movie is getting? Like it's all I see on social media right now. It's constant clips of talking to like Margot Robbie or Ryan Gosling. Like it's constant. Do you think it's because it's such like an iconic character, or like why do you think this movie is getting the huge hype?
Yeah, I mean it's been around for a long time now. Like how many years? Like over 50 at least.
Over 50. Yeah. Barbie's old.
and she never says her name on the show. Like I don't know if you guys have seen the Barbie cartoon show or whatever. She never says her name. Like they're like, so how old are you, Barbie? And she's like, and then she starts vacuuming.
Yes.
Yeah, gotta love it. I mean, I think it's an iconic character and it's gone through so many changes over the years that I think everyone can kind of relate to it in a way, especially now that they have all of the different kinds of Barbies and it's gotten so far from the beginning. But I know when I went to the actual movie, I swear to God, the majority of everybody in the audience was dressed in pink or something Barbie. And so, of course, I did, because I love doing that. Any excuse to dress up, I'm totally there. And having a child gives you even more of an excuse.
Right.
So we went all in pink and did our thing. And it was nice to see everybody kind of, having the nostalgia of the movie there. So yeah, I think it was great. I love Margot Robbie too. I think she's a great actress. I think everybody, when you watch that movie, you feel like you want to be the Barbie character because it's so much fun, and you're just like a life-size, Barbie house and everything. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I think it was great. I really do. I don't want to give away too much though.
Fair. Can I ask with you, because I have obviously only boys, so like, is Barbie still like a cool toy to play with, or like, how does that work?
Veronica, do you want to chime in on that? Or
Sure. So I feel like I attempted to introduce Barbie into our household with our kids. And my oldest, she honestly didn't take to it. It's just not her interest. She's not like in the imaginative, like she loves like coloring in the lines. She loves instructions and like activities like that. So Barbie wasn't like a huge thing. Our youngest is maybe getting into it. My son is into it too. Like they played with the vehicles a lot. But I do feel like Barbie's in a lot of different households, like whatever that looks like, whether it is the play or, I feel like that's part of it. And just commenting also just even on the movie, but like it's pink everywhere. Anything that's pink has a Barbie like logo across it now. I feel like someone made like a pink drink and they were like, it's a Barbie drink. So I feel like I'm seeing a lot of that. But I love that people are really embracing it. They're dressing up and like, it's a great excuse. I feel like just to get into it and have some extra fun.
Well, so much fun. Yeah, you're right. Who needs an excuse to like put on something flashy and pink? Like, oh, okay. If you're gonna, yeah, perfect. I'll take it any day. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, not to make the vibe a little bit sad, but there was some really big news yesterday that Sinead O'Connor passed away. So I just was wondering kind of what everyone's thoughts were about that.
Well, I'm going to start because I was a really big fan of Sinead's for a really long time. And I think one of the things that it got me thinking about was the fact that she was struggling a lot with certain things. Like had some mental health issues she was struggling with. People weren't really taking her seriously about it. She was ahead of her time in terms of talking about these issues. Like, I still remember to this day in 1992 on TV when she ripped up that picture of the Pope, right? The Catholic. And I didn't understand it at the time, but once I did get a little older and I did really understand what she was talking about, I mean, she was bringing to light these issues, about the stuff that was happening in the Catholic Church, molestation that they were hiding and all of these things. And she just went up there and she used her platform and she made a statement, and that took a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And I think she really just started a movement, or at least put a huge light on a movement that was really important, and I think is still important to this day. And so that's sort of why, for me, it was really upsetting, because I go, we should have taken better care of her as a society. We should have taken what she was saying more serious. And what makes me think of is, we need to take care of and appreciate our people while they're here, not once they're gone. Like, that should be a huge wake-up call. Like, we need to help our people here. We need to help each other. And so that's kind of what it's got me thinking about, is like, now is the time. Help each other now. I don't know what happens after I'm gone. You know what I mean? It's like, now's the time. And so that's what it made me feel. Are you Veronica familiar with Sinead O'Connor at all, or?
I am, but I'm not, like, I think we were talking about this very briefly, but I'm not super familiar, but I had that same feeling and that thought that you had just said, that it's really unfortunate that when people are gone is when we start to learn a lot about, them and maybe their legacy that they're leaving behind, in a sense. So I hope that, that continues, even though she's gone, is that there's this legacy, and maybe there will be more of like, certain movements or what that looks like, and a brighter light shone on that she can, kind of leave behind. But it is unfortunate when that happens.
I know, kind of just got me thinking too, like, not only is this like, yeah, we really don't kind of put a spotlight on some people until they pass, but like, then there's always that thought of like those really sort of iconic performers that passed away too young, and like those what ifs. Like, I know there's so many people that are like, what if John Lennon was still alive? Like, what if the Beatles, like, would they be still, would they do a comeback series? Like, who knows what could have happened? Or like so many of those big artists that I like, and just unfortunately passed away too soon. Is there anyone for either of you two ladies, whether like maybe one of those big artists that passed away too soon that you always kind of wondered? Like, I know there's so many times I've had conversations with people that like, if Kurt Cobain was still here, like, would he still, like, can you imagine like just what he could be coming up with now, and just all the different ways like music has obviously changed so much over the years. But just like, what are some of those what ifs of like, what could it look like, right? So
yeah, I was a huge fan of Kurt Cobain. And looking back at a lot of his older interviews that he did, I'm trying to picture like nowadays with those interviews that he did, like, I don't think he would have even maybe got away with what he
right.
did, and I think it's interesting, but I do know that he would have put out some amazing stuff, because
I think so too.
Creative guy.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, like, Smells Like Teen Spirit, like, come on, that like changed.
No. Yeah.
Do you guys know the story behind that, actually, about why he called it Smells Like Teen Spirit?
No.
Okay. Oh, I gotta share this. Okay.
All right, you gotta share it.
He used to have these packets that you get at like the pharmacy, like Shoppers, and it was called a teen pack. And when everybody was going back to school, they'd have these packs, and they were like,
I know those packs. Yeah.
the toothpaste, the whatever, all that stuff in it. So apparently he was all like making fun of the fact, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go get my teen pack now, and one of the fragrances for the deodorant was called Teen Spirit. So he was mocking fun at that, like, oh, okay, like, oh yeah, smells like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
Like, and and it was like totally not cool, that pack, right? The teen pack, like they were trying to make it cool, but it just was
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like totally not into that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where that name came from. He was like, yeah, smells like Teen Spirit. And then went with the whole idea that way. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's kind of a neat story, about how that was.
I love that it's just like a funny joke. And you're right. It's one of those songs that like, if anyone hears, we're like, yeah, like
right?
Head starts going, body starts shaking, like you get right in there.
It brings me back to my high school days. Sorry, I'm not trying to age myself or tell my age, but it does. Like, I remember that. It's just like all part of it. So it's cool. Yeah, very cool.
Love that. What about you, Veronica? Is there any performer that you think like passed away too young that you're like always like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if they had, a few more years, or like 40 more years, right?
Well, it wasn't even about like, I guess like maybe too young, but I know like Tina Turner passed away like not too long ago.
Tina and Whitney, right? Like,
oh my gosh,
icons. Like, sometimes I even forget that she's gone because she's such like a presence. You're like, how can that even happen? Like, like Michael Jackson, right? Like that in my head. And that was years ago now. And to me, I'm like, that doesn't seem that long ago. Like, it seems really wrong. Yeah.
It does seem recent with Michael Jackson. It really does. What a loss, eh?
All of those, right? Yeah. All of those big performers. So I actually thought it's kind of funny because I'm thinking performers, I'm thinking music, and like how it shaped people's lives. So I will share with all of you, funny, because people always are like, who's your favorite band? What's your favorite music? And I am I'm going to say I'm fluid with music. Like, I kind of like hop onto things here or there. I have no like big passion. I mean, there's a few artists that I really love. There's a few things that like at the time I'm like, that reminds me of this time of my life, or this reminds me of that. There's things that I hold on to, but it's funny because when people are like, well, what's your favorite song of all time? And I'm like, Well, I can't answer that. That like I really, and I also can't do favorite movie. Like I first of all, you will notice I'm bad at making decisions. I can't commit to anything. So to say that's my favorite song or favorite movie, I can't do it. But I'm wondering from you ladies, is there a song or an artist or something that you're like, oh yeah, I've got a story to tell you?
There's so many great songs. There's so many great artists now, and we have so much access to all of them too, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I have one while you're thinking, if you want, Shauna.
Yeah.
So actually, it's funny. I feel like I could echo everything you just said, Courtney. I love that you said fluid, because I'm like, that is such a good term for that, because I feel like that too. I love, honestly, all genres. And like, we're blasting even like kids bop and mini pop kids now. I feel like in the house with the kids too. Like
I do Broadway tunes all the time, as you can imagine, right? I'm like, hell yeah. Like, yeah, no, I love it.
So when I'm thinking of like a song, and like music has just that ability to bring out so many emotions and memories, and like so much can be tied to it. Like I can be like totally chippery and all of a sudden hear a song and just start wanting to like sob the next second. Like I just feel that. Okay, so recently we were talking about Backstreet Boys though, but there's a song Drowning. I don't know if you know that song or not. So my husband and I, Neil and I, have been together since we were 16. And so we went to semi-formal. That's when he asked me to be his girlfriend, was when we were dancing to that song.
Aww.
But the reason why I wanted to mention that is because last summer I took our daughter to go see Backstreet Boys, and it was her first concert, and they sang that song. And I was saying to her, like, hey, daddy asked me to be his girlfriend, like while we were listening to this song. So it just has like, I guess, layers to it. I wouldn't say it's a favorite song, but it definitely like has a lot of like memories and like emotion just tied to it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting just in terms of like our relationship, but then like now our daughter was kind of part of that in a sense, right? But I had to explain to her. She's like, was I around? I'm like, well, no, like we were like 16, right? So yeah.
Goodness. Well, now I feel like I have to tell a story, which I really was going to hold back on, but I had to. You saw my reaction when you said the word Backstreet Boys. So ladies, I'm going to be honest. I was one of those crazy, obsessed, ridiculous fans when I was a kid. I was the crazy who had the whole bedroom covered with posters. I went to multiple, way too many concerts to count of theirs. I met them a number of times. There was one point where I literally, I think I went to 4 of the same concert in one year. My mom was going out west and I was like, I'll come with you. I'll go to the Backstreet Boys concert by myself, because I'd already seen the concert. So I went to a concert by myself in Calgary because I was like, I loved them that much. Like I was a crazy, crazy girl. But like, yeah, you tell me those songs and I just like, I go back to like, I don't even know how old I was at the time, like 13 or 14. Like I shouldn't have been going to concerts by myself, but I loved them so much that I just had to. And yeah, it just like throws you right back in the memory. I will even tell you, this one's a big secret, so not everyone can hear this one. One year, I saved up my coins, all my babysitting money, and I got a present for my favorite Backstreet Boy that I was going to give to them. I got them like, I think it was earrings with like their names engraved on it. Like I was crazy. And my family just let me be crazy. Like, but yeah, it was definitely, Backstreet Boys have a special little place in my heart. So yeah.
Did the gift make its way to them?
I think at the end, I actually didn't end up giving it because it was like, I met them a handful of times before that when they weren't as big. And then I think by this point they were pretty big. So I was like, I think I then kept it for myself because I was like, well, why am I going to like hope that he gets it when I could just have it? So
True. There you go. You know,
yeah.
I have a really funny story about the Backstreet Boys. Okay, so back in Nova Scotia, they were having a concert, and my sister was more into Backstreet Boys than me. I liked them, but I wasn't like hardcore. Yeah, but I knew a lot of their songs anyways. So we went to the concert, and first of all, what happened is we didn't all have tickets, and we were going last minute. But like we had 1 or 2 tickets between all of us. So we were at the front, and we showed the person at the front that we only had a few tickets. Anyways, it was a great night because they let all of us in. Me, my sister, another friend, her friend. and we didn't have enough tickets, but he let us in anyways. It was like, I don't know why, but he did. So we got in, we get there and we see that there's these people up front, like against the railings, and they're pushing each other. Some of them are like passing out, all this stuff is happening. So me and my sister pretend that we're getting squished up against this thing, right? So what they end up doing is they pull us over, they take us into one of the tents to calm down, and they leave us there. So now we're at the front because of the tent's right there at the front. Yeah. So first of all, we got in for free, a couple of us, and we got to the front. And we had front seats the whole time, like we're standing there in the grass, they're right here. It was so funny. And I was, at that point, I wasn't really into them. I was a little bit like too cool for school. Yeah. But I was like, oh, I'm going to get everybody in though. You know, and so we got in and it was awesome. We were right up front. It was a cool story. It really was. I don't know.
Wow.
Now, I don't know. Maybe Nova Scotia, just like one of those things. I don't know, but it was a good time. It was a good story.
You and your special moon ice cream in Nova Scotia, anything can happen, right?
Like, give me some moon mist, man. Give me a couple tickets. All in there for free.
So what you're saying is we need to catch a concert in Nova Scotia.
I think with the ice cream. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the ice cream has to be there. Yeah. And mind you, I saw that you sent someone else was doing a story about the moon mist.
Yeah.
That too, which is really cool. I was like, this is good. This is good. See, everybody's catching on.
Yes. I was like, Shauna needs to see this.
Yeah, definitely. And I loved it, by the way, too. Speaking of favorite songs. So before I was a little overwhelmed because I have so many songs that I like, but there's one that I really love and I find works for today. And that's Imagine. And I always get chills every single time I hear that song. Any way it's been performed, I love that song. That was one of my favorites. But there's a lot of other ones out there too, but I think that one is the timeless one that I will always love.
That is a really beautiful one.
To meet John Lennon, and it never happened. But anyway, yeah. So that would be my favorite for sure.
I've like goosebumps. Like as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, like that's what I mean.
I love that song. Isn't it great? It's a great song. It works now, worked then. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
All right. So if we're talking still artists, things that change you, is there a concert that you went to that was like, I mean, obviously we've heard Shona's now Backstreet Boys experience, but was there a concert that you're like, oh my God, this was amazing? I know a whole bunch of people who recently went to the Pink one this past week and said it was amazing. And I was like, darn, that sounds like she sounds like she would have been, sounds like an awesome concert. And a lot of people I know also went with their kids, which I think is very, very cool. So best concert you've ever been, or not even not best, but a concert you can think of that you're like, oh yeah, this was a good one. I really loved it. I can start because I recently, I hadn't gone to a concert in a very long time because of course we've had this COVID thing. I don't know. But recently in the spring, I went to Nashville with a whole bunch of friends, all these couples, and it was super last minute. My husband really was trying to get us to see Luke Combs. And it was funny because we went to Nashville 4 years ago and we actually did not know country music whatsoever. And Luke Combs was playing then. And we're like, who is this guy? What is this thing? Like we had no idea. But since then, we've like been listening to a lot of country music. And I think why I like it now, it actually reminds me of like early 90s pop. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is my vibe. I get it. So we were like, okay, we're planning in Nashville. We're only there for one weekend. Well, literally the week we were planning on going, on the Monday, they announced a new Luke Combs concert on the Friday. So I happened to get tickets for like a regular price because let's be honest, tickets for concerts now are absolutely insane. So me, my husband, and two of our friends went to this concert. As we get there, we were like taking pictures in front of the beautiful thing. We're like, okay, this is amazing. And then this other couple, we asked them to take our photos. We did that. They're like, oh, can you take our photos? So we took their photo and they're like, oh, one more. Well, doesn't this guy go down on his knee and propose to this girl? And I am yelling. I'm like,
yeah, like
so that's how the night started. And we were like, this is crazy. What's happening? And we get into the concert and it was just magic. Like it was so much fun. The stadium there is like big and open and like the sunset, and it was so beautiful, but he was just such a natural performer. Like he literally sounded like I was listening on the radio. And it was no effort. Like, and Shauna, you can appreciate that. Like he literally was like, sweating, whatever, but like, it was like, oh, you want me to do this tune? No problem. And he was singing and it sounded just like the rate. Like I was like, and his songs are hard and beautiful and they're so rich. And I was just like, this is, so it was amazing. It was a really fun, crazy experience. And I loved it. So
cool. I've never witnessed somebody doing that before, like proposing. It's never happened like right in front of me. You know what I mean? Like on TV or something, but like not like in front of you. Like that was really cool.
But, and they were a very quiet couple. So I felt kind of bad because I was like, like me. And so I'm like, that's going to be like on their video when they share people. Like they're probably like, oh, these two crazy ladies. And they were really quiet. Like she didn't even say it. Like it wasn't even like, oh my God, yes. It was like
oh wow.
Like, I was like, what?
Yeah, say that louder. Like,
I know. I was like, pardon me. And I literally was like yelling to the crowd. I'm like,
you're like, yes.
So sweet. I love that. I love that. Wow. Thinking of concerts, I saw a concert. I don't know if you're familiar with the singer Tori Amos. Are you familiar with her at all?
Yes. Yeah.
I was so obsessed with her when I was younger, and I still am obsessed with her. And so I had been a fan of her for years and years and years and years. And then she came here, and she played a bit of a smaller gig. It was, across. It was from the CNE. It was around the CNE area. I'm just trying to think. What's the stadium called there again?
It's changed like a billion times. It's Budweiser now.
What is
right?
it now?
Well, it used to be like the amphitheater, didn't it, or something?
Now I think it's Budweiser stage.
Okay, so Budweiser stage. So she was in one of the smaller ones that they had outside within that. And I was so happy because I could really feel her. Like as she was performing, I felt close. It was just, I loved it. And of course she like pounds her piano. Like she's always like moving her legs and arms and like she gets right into it. And I was like, this is so cool. And then I like ran into a couple of friends that I hadn't seen for a long time. They were there and it was an awesome concert. Nothing really out of the ordinary happened, but for me, it was just so cool because it was so small and intimate. And
small concerts are so nice. It's just that feeling you get, and like it's not overwhelming. It's just like that.
Like I really felt like she was singing to me. Like I was like, oh girl, that's awesome. Like I felt like it. So it was really good. I liked it. It was good. Yeah.
Veronica.
Well, I kind of told that story about the Backstreet Boys concert already.
That was sweet.
Yeah, we went to a Keith Urban concert. That was really lovely too. Nothing out of the ordinary has happened actually at a concert to me either. Like haven't seen anyone proposed to or anything like that. But like just when I was going to the Backstreet Boys concert when I was younger, I think it's just an imprint in my mind because at the time, like you either had to go to the window or you had to stay on hold forever with the Ticketmaster number, right? We were too young. And so we had like all our parents like either in line or on the phone. And then the fact that we got tickets and we could go was just like a really big deal. So that was a big one for me.
I remember vividly, and I'm like, how was I even allowed to do this? I grew up in Brampton, so like not the safest place. Definitely now not safe, but like we slept outside at the mall to like line up for Ticketmaster. And then I remember the next time, because they're like, this is not acceptable. We're not doing this. What we'll do is we'll draw a name. So I actually really remember, this is really upsetting. They drew my name and I wasn't there. They said they were going to draw it at like 10 a.m. and they drew it at like 9:40 a.m. or something. And I remember my mom was driving me. It was before I could drive. They drew my name and I showed up and my friends are just bawling because I wasn't there. So they've given the first spot to somebody else. And I am just like the worst thing that has happened to me. Because of course it's the end of the world. You're a preteen, teen, like dying. So upset. And I just remember the person who did get first was like, sorry, see you later. But the person right behind them was like, if you want, you can butt in front of me. Like I was like, I still remember the day. I think we still actually got pretty crappy seats because that's how it worked somehow. But someone was kind enough to be like, you know what? I'm sorry this has happened to you. Go in here. So that was really nice. And like I said, we saw them enough times, but like, I just remember that feeling as like a teen being like, I never won things like that. Like I was not that person. So for it to happen and then I wasn't there was like, but.
Right. Yeah. It's cool when you win stuff like that.
It is.
Funny story. I went to see Linkin Park a couple times in Toronto. And when I went to Linkin Park, we were waiting in the line and they had this thing where you texted a number. And if you texted you're something in, you could win. And all my friends were like, no, that's a scam. They just want to like charge you for like, for texting. And I'm like, yeah, probably. But hey, I kind of want to do it anyway. So I ended up doing it. What ended up happening was I ended up winning and I won tickets to see Poison, which I'm not really a fan of Poison, but I was like, but I won. I was so excited. I think I ended up selling it to some like big Poison fan to go see. Yeah, because I just wasn't like something I really liked, but it was cool to win. I'm like, see, hey, they're not trying to scam me. Hey, like, well, it was worth it, those charges. And it ended up being good, but that was a cool concert too. Like, they had a lot of different bands playing, but Linkin Park was definitely an awesome band to see live. Like, they had My Chemical Romance playing with them. A bunch of other artists too, and I was like, this is awesome. I had a really good time at that one too. Yeah.
I actually, telling about winning tickets, I can't even believe I didn't say this concert first, and my husband might kill me because of it. So he won tickets to the last Tragically Hip concert, which was in Ottawa, or just outside of Ottawa. No, it was in Ottawa, and he grew up just outside of Ottawa. So he's seen, I think he said he saw about 30 concerts in his life, and like 25 of them have been Tragically Hip, because he was the biggest fan. It was so special. It was their last concert and he won tickets, and it was right around his birthday too. So it was like this, but you had to like pick them up the next day. So he drove the 5 hours to Ottawa to pick them up. Like, it was so exciting. And that concert was, I'd have to say that was probably the best concert I've ever been in, because you felt the whole vibe of the whole place. You could just feel it. And I knew I didn't even think I knew that many songs, but so much more than you think. And we were just about to start the concert. I'm like, oh, do you want me to go get you a beverage? And he's like, no, I've got to enjoy this moment. Like, I'm not going to drink a sip of alcohol. This moment is too important. And I was like, really? The day of our wedding, you drank quite a bit. So that's a big joke in our house of how that goes, but it did. And it was absolutely magical. That concert, Justin Trudeau was there. I believe Taylor Hall was behind me buying a beverage at one point. But it was just magical. And I said, not only was it like obviously Gordon was absolutely incredible, but to watch the people, I'm a people watcher, to watch the
So from where I grew up, so I'm like, that was epic for me to see him do that with them. And that was a great show. Wow, you were there. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. Gotta love that.
And he won tickets to that too. Is that what you said?
He won tickets. I will be completely honest. We had a friend who was hired as a photographer for that show, so was traveling with them, and highly suggested that he entered a competition or entered a draw. So there might have been a little magic in the making. I don't know, but it was also like something we will always remember. And like I said, for him being such a huge fan, like it's a moment in his life for sure.
Yes.
Ladies, this time has flown by. It's like boom, 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 boom. I think we've got to be done for the day. But before we go, please, 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 Shona, can you tell our audience where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Shauna Brown Music 111, my website, shaunamusic.com.
Sorry, I just forgot. You've got something else very important to tell everybody.
Oh, yes, I do. Okay, I am actually
sorry
this weekend. That's okay. At the 3x3 Wentworth Basketball Festival, I'm going to be singing the national anthem this weekend on Saturday. I'll be up there on stage probably around 12:20. And I encourage everybody to come out. It's the 29th and the 30th, 2 days. I'll be there on the first day, and it's going to be spectacular. I can even give you the address. Let me give you the address too. It's in Hamilton, and it's 1199 Upper Wentworth Street in Hamilton. There's going to be a lot of vendors, a lot of things happening. Everybody come on out and check it out. It's going to be great.
Awesome. So sorry, I interrupted you. Where can they find you? If not this weekend, you can find her
for sure. And you can find me pretty much all the time at Shauna Brown Music 111, website shaunamusic.com, and you can follow me on Facebook at Shauna Songs. Yep.
And Veronica, where can everyone find you?
So we have our link tree, which is lifeis.podcast. You can find us on Spotify, which is Life Is with Neil and Veronica. And I hope that you get a chance to check that out too. Shauna, congratulations, by the way. That's so exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I used to do the national anthem quite a lot.
Yeah.
Break from it for a bit, but now I'm like, this is fun. I want to get back into it. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. And if anyone needs to find me, you can find me at therenaissancemama.com, or probably the best place is Instagram at Courtney Renaissance Mama. One quick story before we go about singing national anthem. We went to the Leafs game earlier this year, and the poor singer was trying to sing, and she sang on Canada and that went fine, but she went to go sing the American, obviously their national anthem, and her mic wasn't working, and it wasn't working. So the whole stadium, all Canadians, sung the American national anthem. And it was like, you could feel the whole thing. And I remember it was up on the news for a bit, but like, yeah, that was us singing. And we're like, imagine if it went the other way around. The Americans would be like, they would sing like happy birthday or something. There would be no Canada.
Yeah, like Canada.
Right? Just awesome. Well, ladies, so lovely seeing all of you. Thank you so much. Audience, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed the Blaze, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.